In the Bahamas, 104 people have been killed this year, topping the record of 94 killings from last year. But that pales in comparison to Jamaica, which has become the murder capital of the Caribbean, with more than 1,400 people killed this year. In fact, a 2011 UN report on homicides worldwide reported that Caribbean homicide rates have been increasing every year since 2006, and concludes that the region exhibits some of the highest levels of lethal violence in the world. In September, President Obama certified 4 Caribbean nations as major drug transit countries: the Bahamas, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and Jamaica. There is unquestionably a direct correlation between the growth in narco-trafficking and the total loss of security that we are seeing in the Caribbean. And the drug violence doesn't stop at the U.S. border. Puerto Rico has already seen 1,000 homicides this year, which is a new record. It is estimated that at least half of these murders involve drug trafficking organizations. This situation is deplorable and unsustainable. Violence is up throughout the region. Crime is increasing to the point that some countries are almost under siege. Drug trafficking is growing exponentially, and drug use has hit alarming levels. And it's not just the scourge of drugs that is spiraling out of control. Gun smuggling is a growing menace, with firearms the most likely weapon used in a homicide in the region. Money laundering operations are illegally moving large quantities of cash throughout the region. Human trafficking has reached appalling levels. So what will it take for Washington officials to realize how bad the security situation is in the Caribbean? To that end, in the last Congress, I worked with Senators Kerry and Lugar on legislative vehicles that would rechannel our efforts to address this issue, to create a comprehensive multi-year strategy for combating narcotics, taking into account the demand and supply issues, the role of U.S. weapons flowing south, and the balloon effect that has moved the problem from one part of the hemisphere to another. I plan to reintroduce legislation in this Congress that I hope will refocus the administration's efforts on developing a comprehensive strategy for the hemisphere that will bring together all the pieces of the puzzle and truly commit us to the promises of assistance and cooperation in the Caribbean as articulated by President Obama in April of 2009 at the 5th Summit of the Americas. I often think about this in a very significant way in my own home state, because we know that some of those container ships laden with cocaine, when they leave the Dominican Republic, where do they sail to? Well, they very often end up in the port of Newark and Elizabeth, which is the megaport of the East Coast of my home state of New Jersey. From the port, the drugs go to the street corners and schools of New Jersey and New York. All of us here today, whether sitting on the dais or sitting in the witness chair, owe it to our children and those who protect them to do everything in our power to stop the flow of drugs in our country.